Eagles Cowboys. Eagles win this football game by quite a lot. 34-6, the final score here in this one. The Eagles win it big. Their top 5 graded players on the day: safety CJ Gardner-Johnson with a 92.3, linebacker Zach Baun with a 90.9, wide receiver A.J. Brown with an 83.8, and cornerback Isaiah Rodgers with a 79.8. Offensive tackle Lane Johnson at number 5 here on this list to round things out with a 77.2. Quarterback Jalen Hurts a 73.2. On Dallas' side of things, welcome back Micah Parsons, another elite grade for him, a 90.5 with 2 sacks in this game. Cornerback Trayvon Diggs a 77.9. Edge rusher Chauncey Golson with a 76.8. Running back Rico Dowdle with a 73.8. And wide receiver CeeDee Lamb a 69.7. Cooper Rush did not finish the game in this one, but he started. 33.4 PFF grade. Yikes. Savin told the story. What do we got?
The Cowboys just didn't stand a chance.
Bad football team.
Realistically, yeah. Well, a bad football team without their quarterback now. And they had
worst football team.
They had 146 total yards, and 77 of them were on one drive in the second quarter, where eventually, I believe it was Zeke Elliott fumbled the ball, and they didn't even come away with any points. They had one play the entire day that went for more than 11 yards. I think it was a Rico Dowdle 18 or 19 yard run. They just offensively, they just don't stand a chance like this against. With this offense, they probably don't stand a chance against at least half the teams in the league. And their defense, we've talked about their defense all year. What are you going to – Parsons is back and he graded a 90. That's cool. But
he's my most impressive. And he played extremely well. He's Micah Parsons. He showcased that he is one of the best defensive players in the NFL.
Yeah.
He really is. And look, we just did an episode on the NFL Stock Exchange show where we fixed the Cowboys. It's not out quite yet. We're going to have it out later tonight. This is Monday night. And we look at this team. It's actually not all doom and gloom. They have a lot of flexibility. They can get a decent amount of free agents next year. They can actually build around the studs that they have on the roster. So it's not horrendous for the Cowboys. It's not like the Cowboys are going to be bad from this point moving forward. But Micah Parsons is one of those players that you absolutely have to build around. The big contract is coming for him. And he showcased that again this week. And you saw that with the elite grade that he had. The stat that told the story, it is just a passing game for the Cowboys. You're just not going to win football game. They already went into this week, even before Dak Prescott got hurt, with the worst run defense team in the NFL and the worst rushing team in the NFL.
Even with Dak, there was only a 20% chance they were winning this game. So
now you have Dak out, and you have the worst run game in the NFL. This game went exactly the way that we all thought it was going to. And Cooper Rush, 13 for 23, 45 passing yards. Trey Lance, 4 for 6, 21 passing yards and an interception. I don't know how many games the Cowboys are actually going to be competitive in this, unless you have CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons absolutely take over games. I don't know how many the Cowboys are winning from this point on. They feel like a similar situation to Chicago. I think the Cowboys are in a little bit better of a situation than the Chicago Bears are because the schedule's not as bad, but it's tough for me to find too much to really hang my hat on if I'm a Cowboys fan. And I think the Cowboys process is really disappointing. That's my big time disappointing part in all this. Dak gets hurt. Obviously, that sucks. He played like an MVP last year. But I think that the Cowboys looked at how well Dak Prescott played last year and said, okay, we want you to do that again with way less resources. We're going to make your offensive line worse. We're going to make your running game worse. And the wide receivers aren't really going to get better at all whatsoever. You just be an MVP again after that. And then I think that they didn't really figure things out on the defense side of the football. You're losing 2 of your defensive ends. You're losing Dante Fowler Jr. You're losing Dorrance Armstrong. You're okay with that, but DeMarcus Lawrence now takes a step back. The interior defensive line got worse. Eric Kendricks is just not in his prime anymore. He's not the same linebacker that he used to be when he was playing in an all-pro type of a level. So the Cowboys' entire process of how they went through this offseason and how they evaluated their team and where they thought that they were was very poor. And you're seeing that on the field now, and I think you're going to see that in the final record when they're picking in the top 10, probably top 8 of the NFL draft.
And it's only going to get harder, assuming Parsons is probably going to get the best edge defender contract we've ever seen, most likely.
Yep.
You're going to have 3 guys making more than half your cap. I think it's still going to be hard to build a team around what they have, because usually once you get even just the quarterback making $50-60 million, it's hard enough. But you got 2 other guys making elite contracts. There's going to be a long way to go here in Dallas for sure.
Positives? Most impressive?
Positive.
What do we got?
Trevor, coming into the season, if you were looking at the Eagles roster, what was your biggest question?
It's always linebacker.
It's always linebacker. And they tried several different solutions. Nakobe Dean's been fighting through, but they found one next to Nakobe Dean. That's Zach Bond. You know, this is his third straight game grading at least a 90.
Oh, whoa, 90?
Yeah. 90.9 overall in this game, and 3 straight games over a 90. This is really the first chance he's gotten, because you remember him coming out of Wisconsin. He was an edge defender, but he had kind of a weird build, a little bit smaller, and when he was drafted by the Saints, it was with the assumption that he was going to play linebacker. And then they never...
I loved his edge tape at Wisconsin.
He was fantastic.
I know.
I think there might have been a year where he led the country in pass rush rate.
He was awesome.
He was terrific, but there was an assumption when he was drafted that, okay, he's got to play linebacker. He's just not the right size for an edge player, but he never really got a full chance to play linebacker in New Orleans, and this is the first year that he's getting a full shot. He's excelling like crazy. 2 forced fumbles in this game. He only allowed 3 catches for a total of 7 yards. Again, 3 straight games over a 90. This was the one position on this Eagles team, even more so than in the secondary, because I liked what they drafted with Quinyon and Cooper in the secondary, and they got Gardner Johnson back at safety, and Blankenship's really good. I was the most worried about linebacker for this team coming into the year, and Zach Bond, along with Nakobe Dean, who was, I believe, your most impressive guy last week, right?
Yeah.
These two might be fixing this problem, because they have a good D-line, and we know Jalen Carter and those guys up front are talented. We know they have talent in the secondary more than they had last year, and Cooper DeJean is fixing the slot problem they had last year. If they get this fixed at linebacker, you start talking about Vic Fangio building a really good defense. Zach Bond, I'm not saying he's great at 90 every week, but if he's going to continue to play good football, they've made some real progress now on their defense that could carry them pretty far in the playoffs.
I agree. I think that the elevation of these 2 linebackers has been a big part of this team, and you know, Eagles fans who might be watching this are like, hey, why didn't you talk about my team? This is exactly the game that it was supposed to be.
Took care of business.
You kicked the crap out of them.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are bad. The Eagles are good. There we go. Scoreboard reflected that.
Big game on Thursday.
Yeah, Commanders. That's the one. That's the one I'm really looking forward to. This one was not going to be a contest. The one on Thursday absolutely is. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.